All right, so I was having so much fun with this text effect earlier that I just had to show you this. This is really cool, and it kind of builds on a number of different techniques and presets that I've used in previous tutorials, and it's just a different way of using them to achieve a different effect altogether. In this case, a really cool text effect. So we're going to start with a new document. Here I have a document with a black background. If your document's white, just simply press Command I, and it will invert the white to black. Go into your toolbar, grab the text tool right here, and go inside your document and simply click to set a text layer. I'm going to type the word bullet. And we've got that. And you'll notice I'm using a very futuristic font here. This is actually a font called, if I double click this and highlight it, you'll see up here in the options bar, it's called Nationalize. And this was a free font I got off the font site dafont.com. It's D-A-F-O-N-T. It's got a lot of cool, really different types of free fonts, and you can completely download and use. And that's got my text set. So let's go ahead and select the entire document, Command or Control A to select all, and then do a horizontal and vertical center in the options bar here, and that will center that text. Now, we're going to use a preset. We're going to go into the window menu and open up our styles menu, and we're going to use the web preset right here, which if you hover over it, it'll show you the name. And this one is called Chrome. Simply click on that and it will apply it to that layer. Now, it applied it and it looks okay, but I think I need to scale the effect down a little bit. Now, instead of going into each one and changing each one's settings, let's simply hold down my Control key or right click right on the effects icon and then go down here to the bottom where it says Scale Effects. Then for the scale setting, we're going to enter 30. And you can see it scales it down a little bit. You can even go higher if you want. Let's go to about 33 there and click OK. So, that layer style is set. And you'll notice in the layers panel all the different layer styles that were included in that preset. And we can change these after we've applied them. I'm going to go into this bevel and emboss and double click on it. And we'll open up that window. And you'll see under the bevel and emboss section we've got contour and texture. Well, I'm going to activate texture. And you can see it applies the default texture. Let's highlight that. And then we're going to go into that pattern menu. And you want to look for this one right here. It's called wide, or woven wide rather, as you can see right there. Click on that and activate it, and you'll notice what happens to the text. It gives me kind of a futuristic, metallic paneling look. And I can mess with the scaling here. I can actually go in the document and maneuver this around to get any kind of positioning I need. I think I'm going to scale this up a little bit and position it right about there. So you can see it's got like cool kind of futuristic metal paneling there. And that's simply through a layer style that we've already that we used as a preset, and we simply go in there and modify it a little bit. So there's my text. Now I'm going to go ahead and create a new blank layer, and let's grab our rectangular marquee tool right here. I'm just going to take this and draw a box across the lettering here, very narrow line basically. Again, make sure you're on a new blank layer, and we're going to grab that gradient tool, and using the foreground to transparent and making sure that our foreground color is set to white, so we're going from white to transparent with the gradient. I'm going to start over here on the right side. I'm going to hold down my Shift key to constrain my left to right movement. Start on the right, drag to the left, all the way over, and we get a nice faded white streak there. So I'm just going to push this over a little bit here, and I'm going to go ahead and create a new blank layer above that one. Now we're going to go over here and grab, inside those selection tools, the elliptical marquee tool. Right at the end of this line here, I'm going to hold down my Option key and my Shift key to drag out from the center a proportional circle to right about there. Actually, I'm going to position this off a little bit so you can see what I'm doing with it. Again, we are on our own layer. I'm going to go ahead and press Option Delete, and that will fill it with white, which is set as my foreground color. And go ahead and deselect. Now, go into the filter menu, go in here and run a blur, and a very small blur. We'll do about a 3-pixel blur. I think that looks pretty good. Go ahead and click OK. Go into the toolbar over here and choose the smudge tool, which is grouped in with the blur tool. And up here in the options, we're going to set the strength level to about 95%, so we're going to keep that pretty high. Go over here into the document and size my brush up a little bit, keeping it at a relatively soft edge, making the brush size just a little bit smaller than the actual shape itself. And it's going to click and drag, holding my Shift key down, drag to the right, just like that. And we get a nice kind of a streaky shape going on there. Actually, I'm going to keep that Shift key held down. We're going to go all the way across. And don't worry about if it trails off the edge there, because what we're going to do is throw a layer mask on that. And let's throw a quick gradient. I'm going to hit my D key to set my default colors and hit X to bring black to the foreground. So we've got a black to transparent gradient, and we're just going to draw that across here. So we've got a nice smooth streak there. Well, now we're going to apply layer style to this shape. In fact, let's go ahead and position it back up here up top, right about there. Maybe even scale it down a little bit. And we're going to apply layer style to it. I'm going to double click on it, and we're going to add an outer glow. And you've probably seen this on the fire tutorials that I've done before. We're just going to add really kind of a hot outer glow here. And we'll set the blend mode of this to hard light. We'll increase that size a little bit. And you can already start to see it's interacting with my shapes, giving me a kind of a cool look there. At the same time here, we're going to add an inner glow and set this one to a more bright yellowish color. And we'll set this blend mode, of course, to hard light as well. So it's giving me a nice kind of really harsh, fiery burn there. Looking pretty good. Okay. So, and of course, it's a layer style. We can always go back and modify that. Still looks a little big, so I think I'm going to squeeze this in, scale it down a little bit, and we'll just reposition it right about there. So we've got a nice cool streak running through our graphic. Here's the last element I'm going to add to this. Create a new blank layer. Go over here and grab your gradient tool. And again, we are going to use the foreground to transparent, but make sure we're using white as our foreground. Up here in the options bar, we're going to change the blend mode of this tool from normal to dissolve. Notice we're changing the blend mode of the gradient tool, not the layer. And we're going to take the opacity down to 5%. And make sure they're using the radial gradient. On that blank layer, I'm going to start over here, over this B. I'm just going to hold down my shift key and drag out the gradient. You'll see it gives me that kind of a speckly look there. Press Command or Control T to invoke the free transform, and then Control or right click right on that, and we're going to choose Warp from the menu. Then grab right inside the grid here, right in the middle of the grid, and drag this over to the front point of our little blazing trail there. And then press Enter. So it gives me a nice kind of cool sparkly streak, and we can certainly scale this down, perhaps even push that in a little bit there just to get more of an effect going on with that. So that pretty much does it. Now, here's where you can have a lot of different options. I'm going to select everything but the text here on this layer panel. I'm going to hold down my shift key and select all these different elements, and you can position them anywhere you like. You can position it towards the bottom of the text, right there in the middle, maybe out a little bit more. Doesn't really matter. It's all grouped together to make a very, very cool effect in the end there. But that pretty much is it, using those various elements and tools that I've used in previous tutorials to create a very interesting fire effect, all from scratch, right there inside Photoshop. So, hope this gives you kind of a jump start to have fun with other ways of creating cool text effects or other effects like this. So have fun with it, and we'll see you next time.